Hi, I'm Cameron. I don't just read comics. I love them. And welcome back to another episode of Cameron Reads Comics. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Creature Commandos Season 1. Creature Commandos Season 1, episodes 1 through 7. For accessibility, I kind of just want to share that I don't know anything about the Creature Commandos. I know that they were created by James DeMatteis and Pat Broderick, but upon some research on the team that was invented and the team that we saw, there's not a lot of crossover. It really is a different team. This show is a big deal because it is the first part of James Gunn's DC Studios initiative. James Gunn has worked on previous DC projects, and those other projects affect what is canon, has taken place in the universe of this story. Basically, the Suicide Squad. Rick Flag Sr. is Rick Flag from the Suicide Squad's dad. Then Peacemaker Season 1, we can kind of understand that is the events of the Suicide Squad lead into Peacemaker, and then everything that happened in Peacemaker is canon in the Creature Commandos universe. And so we know some Argus office staff, John Economos, Amanda Waller. I think those are kind of the only really things you need to know. It gets muddy water, but whatever, dude. That's what I say. Now, for the story, this series is written by James Gunn. It was one of the first things he wrote when he was getting into the DC of it all. I think this story is very reminiscent of James Gunn's specialties, which is he takes an outcast group of characters, takes them very seriously, and then gives them all compelling backstories that make us fall in love with them and see them as not monsters, but misunderstood characters. It's what he's done a million times. And of course, he does it here, and he absolutely freaking crushes it. The format he does for television in the series also rules. Within each episode of the series, we get a backstory on each of the characters of the team, and it kind of helps us understand what's motivating them now in a really interesting way. I also think tonally, this story unfolds perfectly. The team has a mission, they follow the routine, then there's shenanigans that transpire. The mission becomes something completely bigger and larger than they ever thought was comprehensible. Long story short is, they wrap it up in a nice bow, someone dies, whatever, that's the normal, that's, spoiler alert, someone dies. All of this happens in the world building of James Gunn's DC universe. And so the story also uses these minor characters to allude to bigger characters existing in the DCU. Here is the team as we know it. Rick Flag Sr., played by Frank Grillo, who I thought did a great job. G.I. Robot by Sean Gunn. Dr. Phosphorus by Alan Tudyk. Bride of Frankenstein, Indira Varma. Frankenstein Regular by David Harbour. Nina Mazursky by Zoe Chow. And Weasel by Sean Gunn. I'd say there are two villains in this story. It is Cersei and the Sons of Themyscira. Cersei's a really freaking cool villain to debut with. That just got me stoked. I was like, yes. And he gave her a cheesy comic book costume. I freaking loved it. And then, again, so he used this series to debut the DC Universe and introduce us to all of these other characters. So for cameos, spoiler for cameos on the series, my favorite one, the one I listed first, Will Magnus. That is the leader of the Metal Men. I love the Metal Men. I think they're such a great team. They're so cool. And so them being in. There's Sergeant Rock. Again, very cool. Very cool. The big one, I guess, is Batman. We saw a silhouette. Everyone just needs to calm down. That's how I feel. I'm everyone said, oh, the silhouette means it can't be Robert Pattinson Batman. It blah, blah, blah. I'm it just doesn't. It does. Batman's there. We saw a Superman trailer too. Superman's there. Whatever, dude. I'm sorry if that's not the response you want, but that's literally how I feel. I'm just it was a perfect, if there was a cameo of Batman, that's basically all I wanted. I'm yeah, he's around. Technically, though, what's crazy? That's more of a cameo of Batman than we got in the Penguin series, which is crazy to me. I'm that's all I needed from Penguin series. Great job, Creature Commandos. You're doing it more for me than the Penguin did. Okay, so how did I like this series? I'm the biggest fan in the world of the DC universe. I am a DC guy over a Marvel guy. I hate to break it to you guys. You guys are learning about Marvel with me as I'm doing all this because I'm reading the comics. I'm reading more of Marvel Omnis than I'm reading of DC. All of these characters coexisting in a larger universe just fills my cup because that's what I want. I want all the franchises to be taken so seriously and like everyone love them. And that's why I have so much faith in James Gunn, because we got Will Magnus. We technically got like Will Magnus canon in the DC universe before Green Lantern. How cool is that? It's just goes to show like he cares about all the characters. And I'm like, that's all I really want. I want them to coexist and exist in a universe together. They don't need to always be holding hands and always team up, but I'm like, just glad to know that they're there. It's cool. A series like this is right up my alley. I am the target audience for this. I want a bunch of weirdos and I want to care about them. Plus the characters that they chose to cameo, I really liked. I love that we got Sergeant Rock. Like, he is core to DC history. Seeing G.I. Robot's backstory with that character, love it. And then my favorite individual story that they told was the story of Weasel, because that's a story that feels incredibly close to James Gunn. He loves animals. He's very much, he made Krypto a part of Superman movies because it's that important to him. So that being the case, I'm just really glad that like we got a story of, Weasel is kind of like a misunderstood dog. And that's kind of the perspective. That was James Gunn's favorite episode of the series that he wrote. It was a really beautiful story of just like a misunderstood creature that, had a tragic origin story. And so is deemed a monster. I just really loved it. I thought it was perfect. Those are the kind of stories, in my opinion, that these characters deserve. So to see them get what they had coming, I love. For my rating, I'm going to give it an 8.4 out of 10. I didn't think it was an absolutely perfect series, but man, it was fun. Am I watching season 2? Absolutely. I'm just excited to see where we go from here. My name's Cameron. I don't just read comics. I love them, and sometimes I watch the series that are based on them loosely. Tell me what you thought about Creature Commandos. Thought the series was absolutely awesome. Really hope we get a Metal Men spinoff. I might be the only one who cares about that, but it's so cool. I'm Cameron. See you guys next time.